if you're new and you're starting out, here's what I recommend you do as practical and actionable steps for you to develop your investing experience. So, the first thing I recommend you to do is obviously to learn the basic language. Investing and finance is a language. So, the way you can do this is sort of learn key terms. You can sort of go through and read books on investing, which is, of course, what a lot of people can do. But I think an underrated thing is if you just go and use ChatGPT or Google as your friend, every single time you have a question, what does PE ratio mean? Just Google it. I'm not going to tell you now. Google it. Or go on ChatGPT and really quickly just ask it. Just write, even if you're too lazy to type, just send it a voice message. Record a voice message saying, what is a PE ratio mean? And it will give you the answer explaining it. And if it's still too complicated, just put in simple terms and it'll further clarify. That's something I've always done. If I didn't understand a key term, just go through it, Google it, and that way it sticks into your head rather than me just telling you. Okay. I'll give you 3 seconds to search it up now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so it means price to earnings ratio. For those of you that haven't Googled this, I am a bit disappointed, or haven't gone on ChatGPT, but oh well. What it actually means is, imagine you have a vending machine. The vending machine costs you $10 a share. $10 for this entire vending machine, right? And this vending machine generates $5 in income every year. If the vending machine costs $10 and you generate $5 in income every year, that means how long would it take for the vending machine to pay itself off? It would pay itself off after 2 years. So $5 and $5 makes $10. We know that all, right? So that means it takes 2 years for it to pay itself off. That's how you know it's got a P ratio of 2. Now, if it's got a P ratio of 20, that means every year, if the vending machine cost $100, let's say, you would only generate $5 in income. Meaning that you would have to make $5, $5, and do that for 20 years, and then you would reach your $100 figure, meaning you'd pay yourself off. The vending machine would pay itself off after 20 years. Now, that's the exact same for the entire company. So imagine you have Coca-Cola, the entire company costs $10 billion rather than $10, and it generates, this isn't true, but it hypothetically generates $1 billion per year in net income. Then that means it's got a P ratio of 10 because it takes 10 years to pay itself off. Learning such key terms are critical to understanding the investment itself. Now, other things that I recommend you do is essentially go to resources which have high quality write-ups where you can understand the business. So listening to the likes of Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Lee Lu, Monish Pabrai are very high quality investors who have done successfully well. Essentially, if you're looking to emulate people, why not emulate the best? Learn from the best, right? Go and do that. But stay with me as well, that'd be nice. No, I'm joking, but it's entirely up to you, right? And the third thing is to look at resources such as Value Line, Value Investors Club. So Value Line, for context, is essentially the modern day Moody's manuals, which essentially was a book where you had per page, it described the company, gave you the high level facts on the company, gave you the balance sheet, the income statement, the financial statements, what the business does, the breakdown, what PE ratio it's trading at, and all the key crucial details that one should know about the business, right? And then you just read through the pages and essentially you get a much better understanding of the business. And if you repeat this day in and day out, you'll start to get a feel for what's a good deal, what's not as much for a good value, what's sort of some of the risk you might spot. Sort of going through and being proactive about what content you want to use, what content you want to listen to and learn from. Again, listen to the high quality investors that you can listen to their frameworks, which I often reference here. Sort of allows you to sort of pick up on that as well. Because there's a lot of misinformation, or if there's not misinformation, there's at least lower quality content which might dilute your understanding. I remember hearing this quote about a billionaire, him saying that the main diet he watches essentially is his knowledge diet. That's the one he controls the most strictly. And Value Investors Club, for what Value Investors Club is essentially, it's a platform on. So if you just Google VIC or Value Investors Club, and it's essentially an archive where a bunch of investors have come together and they all submit their own write-up. So they all have a thesis on a company, whether that's to buy the company because they think it's going to go up, or short the company if they think it's going to go down. And they'll sort of explain the ratios behind it. They'll explain like why they think it'll occur, the risks, the upside, the downside, how likely it is to occur, and their sort of thinking behind it. And I think just reading it allows you to sort of visualize and learn the reasoning behind it. Now, these write-ups aren't just done by anyone. A lot of the time it's by hedge fund managers or people who work in finance as well, who have experience. So it's not going to be guaranteed that the people are of great quality, but a lot of them do get vetted. So every person essentially needs to be checked and approved to be able to post on this website, meaning that you have a guarantee of some sort of baseline of quality. Now, you might want to consider which ones are as good as, there will be some that are better than others, of course, but it at least gives you a baseline level of knowledge where you can sort of go through these reports and read them and sort of understand the high level details of this business, and sort of allows you to see what you should be looking for in an investment and something you should be taking into account. I wish I knew about this resource when I first started investing. It'd be extremely helpful for one to sort of learn and read through their thesis, because if you can read through 100 of these theses, who's to say you can't then go look for the same things yourselves of the same quality? So I think these kind of services are very helpful. I know Warren Buffett had been asked as well, the most famous investor in the world, for those of you who don't know, who he'd been asked essentially in his annual meeting by a shareholder, essentially very young guy, who wanted to understand what he could do essentially if Warren Buffett, what would Warren Buffett do if he was his age and in his position, to sort of give him some guidance. And essentially what Warren Buffett said was he would start with the A's, meaning through these manuals, which we now have digital ones as the physical ones are no longer in existence, he would go and start with the A's and essentially just read through it. And this is something Warren Buffett actually did. He read through this 2,000-page Moody's manual twice over in a single year, meaning he's reading about 100 pages or so a day. But that just sort of gives you some clarity around like where are some good resources you should start and sort of what you should focus on. But I think the main thing is understanding and the rationale and the thinking behind it once you get over the initial key terms and words. But I think you guys are pretty smart if you're watching this, and you'll pick it up pretty quickly anyway, so no concerns with that. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed. That's all.